Well, if ever there was a boring, lackluster debate, it was last night on, was it the BBC? I mean, even Fiona Bruce couldn't raise an eyebrow, and she's got the highest eyebrows in the universe. They're up here. Um, Ed Davey trying to sound like he's bothered about the post office sub-postmasters. Shouldn't you have done something at the time when you had control instead of ignoring it all? You can't trust these characters. And I know many of you are afraid to take a leap of faith to reform. Look, you've got to remember, when I'm saying all this, I don't believe in necessarily reform as a party. I think they've a lot of shortcomings. I don't believe in party politics. I believe in proportional representation. But actually, so does Nigel Farage. And Nigel Farage believes in direct democracy. That's the system that Switzerland uses. So the big stuff, like HS2 or lockdown, mandated drugs, they put it back to the people. And the people have a say. That can only work if you've got an honest media. So the only reason everybody queued like lemmings during the pandemic, rolling their sleeves up, was because of the information they were given by the media. So it's critical in politics to have an honest media. We don't have that right now. We have bought and paid for media. And you have to find your honesty from other sources. So that has to go hand in hand. So I'm not like, oh yeah, vote reform, vote reform. I think you've got to play with the cards you dealt. And the cards we're dealt right now is Nigel Farage has packed in a very well-paid job at GB News to go out campaigning to stand as an MP for Clacton-on-Sea. Not exactly the most exciting constituency in the universe. So he's obviously giving something up. You know, he's giving up a London job that's well paid, that keeps him in the public eye, to go and stand in Clacton to get a voice in Westminster. Hopefully successful. The thing that there's been another shift, it's a bit like Brexit revisited. All the Brexiteers are now remotivated because we know we've been stuffed by the Tories, sadly. We expected it from Labour, we expected it from the Lib Dems, and we expected it from the SNP. But we didn't expect it from the Tories, and that's the bit that's missing. We've not had an opposition. It's so important the way Parliament runs. It's the King's Parliament, and it has the government and the opposition, and the opposition is supposed to fight the government for unsuitable legislation. The opposition never fought anything during lockdown, and a lot of the things should never have been done. They should never have shut hospital wards to handle one disease. Do you agree with that? If you sat there waiting for a painful knee replacement, elective surgery, telling people, one woman, it was an MP's wife, she had a baby in Wales and there were complications that would normally have been dealt with immediately, but because it was a separate organ involved and it was considered elective surgery, they sent her home and said, you'll have to wait till it bursts and we'll blue light you and we'll do it then. That's not healthcare. That's scary. So you can't have people making decisions like that for a whole nation. No cancer treatment, that was delayed. People getting diagnosed and not attended to. So it's now backed up. Not to mention the unfolding injuries from people who did the right thing. So what you've got to look at, we've had no opposition to any of it. Even Steve Baker, who stood and cried in Parliament about having to agree to lockdown. Why did you? Why did you agree to it? I know there's people out there that think we should have locked down sooner, but that's only because of the information they got from the media. And that's the critical mass in all this. It's the media. The media are they're the all-powerful source. They're the ones that deliver the information. And they have a responsibility that they are ignoring, and that responsibility is to tell the truth. Not to sensationalise bad news, so you'll behave yourself, which is what was done. And the government should certainly never have employed communist advisors like Susan Michie, because people like that are so devoted to the cause of communism, they would put that first. She still wanted us in masks, now indefinitely. So the thing that I see with reform is the fact that Nigel's come back. We know how effective he is. Look how effective he was with Brexit. Look at the European elections in the European Parliament. The Brexit Party wiped the floor with them, didn't they? So we need that shift in politics. And it doesn't really matter if they're not that good at the job. I mean, have you seen clowns we've got? Do they look any good at the job? Andrew Bridgen wants to talk about the rollout and nobody turns up. That's how much they think about you. They don't turn up to talk about it. And they're all apologetic about the haemophiliac scandal. Have they done anything? Have they done anything? They're still sorting out thalidomide claims. It's 50 odd year ago. They're still not addressed all them. That's who you're dealing with. That's who your right honourables are. So no, new inept politicians that are getting hit pieces done in the tabloids, I don't care. I don't care what they've done in their own life. As long as they're not fiddling with kids and being cruel to animals, then I'll take a punt on someone new being totally inept than having someone experienced who knows what they're doing and is just pulling the wool over our eyes. You've seen what they're like on those debates. They're all pretending to be arguing with each other, and as soon as the cameras go off, they're all smiling and laughing and shaking each other's hands. They don't care. I've seen it myself. They chat to each other, Labour and Tory. I mean, I don't mean they should be falling out like they are in some parliaments overseas, fisticuffing. I don't mean that. I mean that we deserve better. And the only way to get better is to change it and get a few voices in there, like Nigel Farage, who's prepared to stand up and say, we need proportional representation. And you know, the reason that the Tories, the real Tories, like your Suella Bravemans and your Priti Patels, are not jumping ship and going to reform, it's not established enough. It's not got the backbone of a long-standing political party. But something good will come out of all this. Something good will happen from this. There will be changes. Rishi Sunak, it's not an election. Rishi Sunak's handed his notice in, like up onto a desk probably because he can't reach. He's had enough and he doesn't want to be a Prime Minister if we're in a war footing. Very reassuring. Ed Davey's not fit to run the country. Keir Starmer's not fit to run the country. He stabbed Jeremy Corbyn in the back. He helped to write his manifesto. The one we were all afraid of, Jeremy Corbyn. Starmer helped to write it. Starmer, Jimmy Savile, need I go into it? This isn't the sort of person I want running my country either, and he's experienced. So we're going to have whoever gets in. It's probably going to be Starmer, but where we can affect it, if we have the bottle to not vote Tory, don't think that voting for the Tories is going to save your private pension. It isn't. They're on the same trajectory. You know, people keep saying it, two cheeks of the same arse. It certainly is. So we've got to break this uni party up by peppering it with a few fresh faces. Ideally, some independents too. But if I'd have been an independent, a nobody, or a small party nobody's ever heard of outside social media, and I was a good candidate, then I would have bit the bullet and I'd have put myself forward under the reform badge. And the reason I would do that, excuse me, tractor, sorry about that, tractor went past. The reason I would do that is because I would believe in myself that when I was in Parliament, the person, would make a difference. So what badge I'm wearing is irrelevant. It's irrelevant what badge you're wearing. You should stand because you think you can do the job. And bite the bullet, infiltrate Parliament by pretending to be part of reform, sign up, ring them up. Yeah, I'll be a reform candidate. Oh, right, well, there's Mr So-and-so who normally runs XYZ party. We'll have him. That way you don't get anybody standing against you of any relevance. You get in on the reform badge and you behave in Parliament exactly as you want to if you stood for your own party. And you can promote your own party while you're in there. Who says you can't? You can do what you want. You're in. That's the critical thing they're missing. They're not fighting properly. The small parties are too wrapped up in their own ego. There's some good people out there running small parties you've never even heard of. But they won't bury the hatchet. Bury the hatchet, stand for reform, get in, do what you want. That's what these other people do. They've infiltrated politics. Tony Blair changed politics forever because he changed the civil service as well while he was in office. They're all Blairites. So every single idea that comes up is to be implemented by the civil service. If they don't want it to work, it isn't going to work. Universal credit, prime example. Ian Duncan Smith, good idea. One-stop shop for all your benefits. Did it work? Did it thump? Why did it not work? because they didn't want it to. It was a Tory idea. So it didn't work. Sorry about that, somebody in the window. Go away. I think this is a golden opportunity for us to create some change. I've seen the underbelly of politics. I don't like it. I don't like any of it. I don't want to be involved in it. I'm only here to explain things that you might not get to understand. You won't understand why Tories aren't just going to reform. Reform aren't up to having them yet. There's no backbone to the party. And I'm not being rude. I'm not trying to put you off there. I'm being realistic. I'd still, if I had a Reform Party candidate in this constituency, I would vote for them. I voted for them in the 2019 election, actually. They had a Brexit Party candidate, and I voted for that Brexit Party candidate because I believe in what I'm doing. So the other thing, this is really good news and something I should thank you for, and that is the YouTube copycat's been taken down. Thank you to all those people who reported it. I can't believe it's happened. I was going to take legal action. I didn't want to because obviously it's costly, but I would have done it. There's nothing worse is than you producing work yourself and someone else just, I'll take that video, I'll have that. I'm building a channel where they've got adverts running for YouTube and making money out of it. I'll probably have to allow YouTube to put ads on here. It won't cost you anything, obviously. You just have to click on the countdown for the 4 seconds and get shut of them. But it's the only way to protect myself, I think, long term, because if I don't, there's a lot of content going to be on this channel for people to just pick up and take away. And YouTube is a business. They'll favour the people they can make money from rather than favouring the people like me who don't want anything back. And I'll never ever, you'll never ever see me on a platform anywhere asking for you to spend money to access me. Never, ever. I don't even share crowdfunders. I've shared one for Andrew Bridgen suing Matt Hancock. I've shared it once, one time. That's it. I sent him a tenner. That's it. I don't ask for money on the internet. I don't expect anybody to pay to listen to me. I'm not anyone special, and you shouldn't have to access me. And I've got to say, those debates last night, how boring. Is this what we've come to? 4 lackluster individuals. They didn't even have Nigel Farage on, who was the most interesting one. They had that, God, he's so up himself, that SNP bloke. There's 5 million people in Scotland, just over. There's more in Yorkshire. Why we're giving it? Most of the people voting, the 67 million, they're in other places. They're in England, some in Wales. Why are we listening to him? Why do we have to have him on our airwaves? And the SDP, unless you're over 50, nobody's heard of them. Decent enough party, but I spoke to one of their people via WhatsApp. I got a message. And I'd, suggested some ways of increasing the social media presence. And they said, well, more of a slow burn. We see ourselves with seats in the 2030s. Really? I see us speaking bloody Mandarin by then. China will have took over. Sorry, no, there's no room for slow burn. How much slower do you want to be? It's since bloody 25 years since anybody heard of you. So, you see, that's where it just goes off the boil with politics. That's where they're stupid. And Fiona Bruce, I mean, she didn't even raise an eyebrow last night, did she? She's got the highest eyebrows in the universe. So, unfortunately, sorry, am I being rude? I am. Well, sod it. They've no idea what we think. They're doing just what they did with Brexit. They're not taking any notice of us. This election is a sham. Labour will win. It's just a matter of proportion. It's just a matter of, how much of a majority they get. And we can affect that by creating an opposition, which we haven't had for years. We need someone to push back. Nobody's pushing back because both parties basically want the same format. They're not really daggers drawn at all. And that Penny Mordaunt, I don't know about you, but she's full of herself. That's how I see it. She's like a bloody peacock now. She comes out, she's carried that bloody sword. I mean, come on. I can carry a sword, let me leave the country. We're not going into battle, it's not the bloody crusade. You're coming in on a horse. Dun, 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 dun. What have we got? What have we got? But we've got an opportunity, that's what we've got, to possibly change things. And I'm going to use it as best I can. And YouTube, I can't thank you enough, you who follow me on here, and read what you tell me. Some of them have been heartwarming stories and sad stories about what's happened to you during lockdown and your physical effects of having joined in and done the right thing. Dreadful stuff. They'll just never be forgiven for that. Don't let them cajole you into talking about other stuff when they've never addressed anything they've done that they've forced upon us. Finance ministers becoming health ministers. They know, and then they leave. No, nothing sticks, does it? You can't have a go at them. You can't make them pay for what they've done. 40,000 care workers sacked. Where are those 40,000 people now looking for bloody jobs? Some of them 50-odd-year-old women, nobody wants them. I know they're still unemployed because they message me. I've tons of carers follow me. And we can't just let them forget that. I think it's insane what's gone on. Cruel and unnecessary. So no, Tories, you're not off the hook. You're horrible. You're horrible. You're not even Conservative. And you don't deserve to be anywhere near power. And thankfully, if you're not in power, your backers will hate you. Your backers will tank. They're already tanking support. One really billionaire businessman is going to vote Labour because he's that annoyed with the Tories. He'd rather be shafted by what he knows than shafted by what he trusted. And I feel just the same. I'd rather be shafted by what I know to be not my bag than be shafted by someone I've entrusted. That's the thing that got me. I trusted them so much. I spent time and effort wandering around shopping centres, talking to people for Brexit, making them understand, having meetings online. I did meetings online before we had Zoom. I did FaceTime on Facebook with hairdressing companies and engineering firms when they didn't understand Brexit, what it was really about freedom and about tyranny and about a form of communism. Nobody realised, because the packaging was good, wasn't it? Pet passport, easy travel, your kids can work anywhere in the EU. Yeah, we know. But that's not what it's about. What it's about is living like this. And if anybody wants to know what the future holds, I'm sorry this is going on a bit now, isn't it? If anybody wants to know what the future holds in this digital controlled world, you should live my life this last 3 months fighting this copycat, where you're just dealing with big tech and they give you an option to report it, and not one of them suits what your problem is. And that's going to be our life if we don't fight back about central bank digital currency. That's going to be our life. And that's why we have to push. And that's why we have to do all we can. Talk to our friends, get them to understand, use cash, do everything you can to slow it down. Because the last thing you want, it's bad enough now with big companies. Your call is important to us, you're in a queue. Press 1 for this, 1 for that. And then you get through to someone who's in Mumbai, can't understand English, who's working from a script, and you can't put your point across. It's going to be every aspect of our life. They just want control. They're not interested in us aspiring to be what we want to be. I don't care if you want to aspire to be big, fat and ugly, eating pizzas all day and being cut out of your house and starring in My £600 Life, moaning and groaning that you feel unloved. You will be, because you've just indulged yourself. That's not on. I don't care what you want to do, as long as you've got the freedom to do it. As long as you're not interfering with animals and kids. So we have to push. And coming up against these, not having to report 15, 20 times a day and get other people to do it, and then you've still nowhere to go. You can't talk to anyone. You can't express yourself. That's the thing. They're going to take away the way we express ourselves. You know, you can have a quick phone call with a live human being and say, look, this has happened. I need to explain this to you, X, Y, and Z. And they'll go, oh, right, okay, type in a keyboard, they'll get you. But the best you're going to get is a foreigner who doesn't understand what you're saying. So we have to push back. because this is going to be our life if we don't. And, you know, this business of, oh, they're trying to make the roads safer. Andy Burnham, Manchester, he's on with it at the moment. Oh, 10,000 people have been killed or injured on the roads in the last 10 years. In the last 10 years. And that even includes people who walked away from the accident, who actually didn't even need ambulance treatment, hospital treatment. To play with figures, 200 people died from drink driving in 2023. I'm glad it's only that low, but we're 67 million people, and they're going to bring the drink driving laws tighter and tighter. What does that actually do though? Kills the restaurant and pub trade. People can't afford taxis like they used to, because the taxi ride that cost you a tenner is now costing you 22 quid. So people don't, you know, that's on top of your night out. That's on top of the fact the wine's gone up by 20% and your meal out's gone up. Not only that, shopping in your house. They're lying about inflation. It's just a lie. You know, you don't need to be the Chancellor to know that milk and bread is dearer and how much stuff has gone up. Wine, sweets for your kids, chocolate. Bloody hell. Have you seen how much chocolate is? Bit of a penchant for chocolate myself. So don't listen to them. They're lying when they go on about inflation. They've overspent big time. They've spent more than they spent during World War II, comparatively speaking, for lockdown. This isn't the after effects of Brexit, what we're suffering. This is the after effects of shutting your economy down, of paying out for furlough, for people not to actually work. Who does that? You shouldn't be paid not to work. You should be paid to go to work. Who says that somebody's is a critical worker? If you're putting food on your table for your family, you're the critical worker. They've had people who have vulnerable people in the household. I've had messages from people where they've worked in the NHS. They've come home and stripped off their clothing completely in an outbuilding before they've come in the house so they don't spread this disease. It's madness what they've done to us. People hugging through plastic. Please. It's like a flu. And we've got to be able to live our life without fear. And it's the government. I never thought I'd see the day when my own government terrified me more than the governments from overseas. And that's the truth. And that's the bit that's really stuck with me. Because, well, this lot got another $7,000 a year, because that's what MPs got. They got another $7,000 that year during the first lockdown to help them cope. To help them cope, to not answer the phones, to not go to the surgeries and to not do out. And during that time, I was up till 3 o'clock in the morning answering messages from desperate people trying to get cancer treatment, trying to get their ashes back from a funeral director. One woman who'd been given electric shock treatment as a younger person because she was, she'd got mental illness, and they'd given her electric shock treatment and they'd forced her to have these injections, to calm her down. She was that terrified. She rang me late at night, on Facebook, in Messenger, and she was suicidal. She was absolutely desperate. She was afraid she was going to have it. I said, they won't force you to have it. Too many people will kick back. And, they pushed it with the NHS, and NHS 100,000, nurses 100,000, and the Together Declaration pushed back, and they didn't mandate the drug. That is, you shouldn't mandate drugs, because Christ, you don't have to go in a chemist. You buy a packet of indigestion tablets. There's a page like the Magna Carta telling you what can go wrong with you if you take that with other stuff. So all of a sudden we have this brand new drug being put in your arm by laymen who've never done it before. Oh, it's all right, it's perfectly safe. Lying buggers. How can you say that to people when you look round a chemist, you look round Boots, every single medication you're about to take, from sucking a lozenge to a painkiller, as a list of things that might affect you if you're taking this, that and the other. But oh no, all of a sudden we can all take it, whatever condition we're in. That's suspicious. And especially when they made so much money. Pfizer made $100 billion in 12 months. It took Pfizer 20 years to make 40 billion before that. And Johnson & Johnson were going down the pan because of a £2 billion one-off claim for a woman who got breast cancer from the talcum powder. So these drug companies were not having a good time. And unfortunately, what's happened during this period, because we haven't had access to medical care, people have done more research for themselves. They've turned to holistic medicines, and then they've read. I mean, has seen Malhotra, a cardiologist, tells you quite carte blanche. They tell you to take these statins. You know, it's going to help you with your cholesterol, but apparently you need cholesterol. It's all very confusing. But you think you're going to live longer. When they do the studies, if you see Malhotra, the length of time you live longer is weeks, not years. So we've been having the wool pulled over our eyes for a very long time. And all that's happened is the internet has given us the facilities to research stuff ourselves. People say, oh, you're not an expert. You don't need to be an expert. You need to have the patience to read what the experts have said. But you need to have the patience to read what all the experts have said, even the ones that don't agree with the narrative that's proved to be prosperous for some people. So it's a good thing when you see those memes, don't listen to the science, listen to the silence, because you only want to cover up something bad. You don't want to cover up something good. So if someone's disagreeing with what you say because they've found out it's bad, you have to shut that person up, because otherwise your plan won't work. And when you've got someone as powerful as Elon Musk, who's now the owner of Twitter, the home of free speech, puts memes out showing Dr. Fauci, who used beagles for testing, and he put a meme up with a picture of Fauci, and it said, "You're all beagles to him." When somebody as powerful as that puts a meme out like that, you know that whatever's happened, it's not on the right footing, is it? It's just not. And then we've got our own version, Matt Wancock. What a man. I mean, I didn't realise how foul he was till he became the health minister. I don't know if you know, but during the lockdown period, he spent £54,000 on takeaway meals over a 2-week period for the inner sanctum, about a dozen people in Whitehall that work through. £54,000 on takeaways. The man's insane. And groping and slavering all over his bint that he ended up with. Oh, but he was in love. You had your wedding cancelled. That doesn't count. Don't matter if you're in love. Oh, you lost your lifelong husband and you had to sit like 30 feet from your son. Oh, that doesn't count. Doesn't matter about your love. It matters about his love. He fell in love. We don't care, Matt. You should have been at home with your wife and kids like Professor Pantsdown. Ferguson has got every frigging pandemic wrong. He's never guessed out right. And it's guesswork. Modelling. That's science talk for guesswork. And what did he do? Tested positive, and before his quarantine period was up, went round to see his girlfriend. He's married with kids. And he went round to see his girlfriend and came home. That's how much they think of us. And the other bit, sorry this is going on, it's a long one, isn't it? The other bit that really got me, that it stuck out like a sore thumb to me, during lockdown, when Boris and his clan allegedly had parties, the thing that the media never picked up on, either intentionally, I'm going to say intentionally, but I might be wrong, is at that point, when all those people went to those parties, no one got sick, no one was hospitalised, no one died. So that to me was like, that was like a test, wasn't it? It was like a trial period. So if they'd all mixed, why didn't we just open the country? Why didn't we think, well, look at that. All those people have been mixing, nothing's happened. No after effects. But everybody overlooks that and just talks about the faux pas of it shouldn't have been done. None of it should have been done. None of it. So you can see where I'm coming from with my politics. Sorry I've gone on. I'm probably feeling a bit more relaxed because I've got shut at Copycat. And I am feeling more relaxed. I'm sorry. Please let me know on the thread if this is too bloody long, because I don't want to bore you to death. But, because I've been doing these little short videos on Twitter and Facebook, I'm stifled because I've got to try and pack what I'm saying in a short space of time. And I meander. It's what I do.